In today's video, we journey back to 1788 with Marco Benedetti's handcrafted recreation of the Ettilla deck, the very first tarot created solely for divination. Inspired by the Book of Thoth, this deck reorders the majors into creation, society, and the individual, while the minors stand out with their striking blue and yellow halves and printed meanings. Join me as we explore this remarkable piece of tarot history brought to life with Benedetti's exquisite craftsmanship. Help me ducks, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. Hope everybody is having a great week. I'm doing videos back to back. I think I mentioned that already. So this will go up in a couple of days time, but I've wanted to do it now because I want to start. I want to start playing with this deck. So if you saw a video a couple of days ago where I showed my personal Madrone by Marco Benedetti, you will have seen that I'd ordered 3 decks. And one of those was the Itaya, which shout out to Marilyn from Tarot Clarity. Hi Marilyn, because I saw this on her channel first and loved it. Now, I'm going to try and do this justice because for me, I think the Ettilla Tarot is one of the most influential, but also quite unusual decks in our tarot history. And when I've received decks in the past, I've got a little bit confused because there's two main tarot decks out there. I think there was actually 3, but I'm not sure what the third one is. I've not come across it, but I first discovered it a few years ago with this deck, and I get really confused by the dates because from what I understand, even though this is the Ettilla Tarot, they have the same title, but they're different decks. The dates get very muddy when you look into it. But this one has a completely different pip system, different artwork than what we have here. And this one, I received another version of it by Jean-Baptiste Aliette. Aliette, or if you reverse that surname, is Ettilla, and that's where he got his magic name from. This one I really, excuse me, I showed because I really loved it. I think it's great in terms of the card size, but you'll see it's pretty much the same deck. The colours are a little bit different, but it's got the same keywords, the same numbers, everything about it is the same, okay? And again, when we get to the pips are really beautiful, actually. They're in this style. So these two, by all accounts, are the same deck. However, this deck says it's from 1870, which is a long time after he died. And then research that I've done says that, you know, he had students that he taught and they brought out this deck. And it's not his, but it's a student of Etteilla's. This one, the same deck, says 1790, which, you know, there's a difference there, isn't there, of 80 years. But from what I understand, this is the correct date, and it was done later than this version, which was done by Ettilla. Okay. I also want to mention that there is a Make Playing Cards version that I showed recently. See how the pips are different? in this deck. The artwork is different as well, but I love it. I love both versions, to be honest. This one is by Conrad Stein. And just to correct a wrong, when I was looking through this deck, I said, oh, it may have a card missing because I couldn't see the Chaos card. Not knowing that, or realising, because I'd only been used to these, that the Chaos card is very different. It's still there, but it's not like it appears in this deck. So, you know, if you want an affordable NPC version, then after you've seen this, then you can check it out there, and Conrad has this version on NPC. Okay. I've also printed off some little crib notes that Marco has sent, and I've also got a few of my own notes, doing some research of, you know, around whose deck is which and that sort of thing. So, just to start us off, the original edition of the Etteilla Egyptian Tarot, engraved and printed by Pierre-François Bassan in 1788. The deck was published as an 8-page black and white book containing 78 cards. A 4-page booklet, the first tarot with a booklet ever. And this is why when I said at the beginning about Itaya being, you know, very influential, and you'll see, you know, he's the one who introduced reverse meanings. There are some claims that tarot comes from Egypt. I don't buy into that, but that's why you see Thoth, Book of the Thoth being referenced. It's linking it to that sort of ancient wisdom. For me, I subscribe to the school of thought that tarot comes from Italy in the 1400s. But I think the more occultist people in tarot like to link it back further and more mystical than the fact that it was just a playing card game. But, you know, and whichever school of thought you subscribe to is absolutely fine. At the end of the day, tarot is tarot, and it's what we use it for now that matters. So it had a book, the first book ever, and a box cover, from which we learn that the book was also available hand-coloured and assembled as a finished deck. I created the box by modifying the original from landscape to portrait. And this is really cool. In fact, let's bring the camera down a little bit. Yeah, this is a really cool box, as you can see here, look. I just love it. So Marco hand creates all of his boxes, his decks, and they're in a league of their own. They really are, and I'm a little bit obsessed. I'm not gonna lie. You've probably worked that out by now. The cover provides us with Etteilla's address, confirming Etteilla's direct involvement in the creation of this deck. Together with the writings on a few cards not present in subsequent editions of the deck. So you will see annotations and notations and things like that on the cards as well, which in other decks, they don't appear. In particular, the 8 of Wands bears the advertising of Etteilla's livre de Thoth, 9 of Coins of Etteilla's cartomancy lessons, etc. And we'll see them when we get to them. For the record, the deck we know as Grand Etteilla Type 1 was created in 1804, one of Etteilla's students. And this one gets also referred to as the Grand Etteilla. I think actually it might reference that on the back. But this is where it gets messy, because I don't think a lot of people do their research and they'll say, oh, Ettilla Tarot, let's release it. But yeah. Okay. So we know that his students also release subsequent decks. For my reconstruction, I assembled a black and white copy of the book with a series of brush colour cards with lovely pastel tones. And that's what really spoke to me about this particular deck. Unfortunately, vandalised by removing the edges with the writing, to be mounted on a tableau in the form of leaves of the Book of Thoth, placed in the Temple of Fire at Memphis, Egypt. For your pleasure, I used a photo of the tableau for the wrapping, and all my wrappings I've put into my junk journal, my tarot junk journal. Okay. So just have a sip of tea, and then let's have a look at what we've got here. Look at this. So he does these beautiful telescopic boxes. They are really nice and sturdy to protect the deck. And so this is Paris, 1788. I think he died in like 1792, was it? Reconstruction by Marco Benedetti, Rome, 2024. Oh gosh, yeah. Again, really, really nice, sturdy boxes. We do get this little pamphlet here, but it's going to be in Italian. Yeah, but it's still cool. And that's 1789. I mean, look, just look at this cardstock. So it's got like a matte textured finish on the top. And then these are the backs, and it has this lovely silky, oh yeah, matte on this side, silky on this. I think looking at, these are the backs that you get on MPC, but if we look at these together, you can see these will obviously be scans, facsimiles, but because Marco has colour these, you've got these soft, you can almost see the brush strokes, so really, really quite beautiful. Okay, so deck created by Jean-Baptiste Alliette, better known as Etteilla, published in 1788, and it was engraved, printed by Pierre-Francois Bassan. It's 78 card deck. And as I said, the box is hand assembled, which is great. So, Etteilla's innovations. Reverse meanings, first tarot to assign specific meanings to upright and reverse. So it is folly, the fall for both, but you'll see as we go through, you get different, a lot. These are where we're talking about the notations, which is just wonderful. So you've got like victory here, and then a reverse meaning, sincerity, as well, which is quite cool. He also introduced esoteric symbolism of alchemy, astrology, hermetic philosophy, which is all woven in. The claim of it having Egyptian origins, and the polarity of the design. I love the two-tone minors, which you'll see in blue and yellow, and that was done deliberately to emphasize duality, so day and night, positive, negative, etc. And because he introduced reversals, he wanted to make it really easy, so that if it comes up in a deck, you know that it's reversed if the yellow is at the top. I mean, you could tell anyway by the pips, but that was the idea, just a quick visual. Oh, look how beautiful that is. I'm jumping ahead, aren't I? Okay, so also the deck is created, created into 3 books, because as it said, it was Builder's Book of the Thoth. Creation, so that's your chaos, light, plants, birds, fish, animals, man, woman, prudence. The second book is society, so hermit, wheel, strength, prudence, again, note that, death, temperance, devil, tower. And then the third book is the individual, judgment, stars, moon, sun, world, and fall. Now, fall is at the beginning of this particular deck, but usually when I have seen the card 25, when I've seen the deck, it comes at the end, and you have the chaos card at the beginning, which is called Etteilla, and it's the querent card. Okay, but you see chaos because it's a world without form, you know. And when we're starting off with creation, you have chaos until the world is formed. So that's kind of where that stems from. Okay, so just before we look through the cards, I'll just do a size comparison. They are a nice size. They're just a little bit short of a tarot size and a little bit narrower, but it's really nice. They just feel, I mean, all of Marco's decks just feel so lovely to handle. They really do. Yeah, and we'll go through each card because it's not a traditional tarot, particularly if you're used to RWS, but we'll go through it, and I can what I also did, sorry, I'm jumping ahead, aren't I, was I did a bit of a table, hopefully it's showing here, of the 1789 edition and then the Grand Ettilla, like the Vieux Monde, which is claimed to be 1870, and you can see the difference. Now they kind of mirror across, and this is why I was thinking there would be a chaos card showing as chaos, but it's the Ettilla card. But you can see that you've got things like traitor, hermit, and it was hermit. Misery became the temple struck by lightning. Fortune is wheel of fortune. So it's the same, and there's your folly, you fall at the end. And here it's numbered 78, so to come right at the end of the deck, really. But so I find that quite helpful, looking at the two kind of different decks and how they compare. Okay, so book 1, which is creation. And then the idea is this book narrates the genesis of the cosmos and living beings, and then obviously we form society, etc., like that. So we have card 1, which is the Ettilla card, the chaos card. Card 2, this is light. As you can see, light forming. Card 3, this is our plants. Four is, look at the little notes here. Heavens. And then we have man and animals. Stars. Birds and fish. I'm going to bring it up a little bit more because this artwork is just stunning. Now, if you remember here, we had Itaya and the questionante. So this is the female querent in the later deck that became rest. We have justice, temperance, strength, la force, prudence. I love seeing prudence in decks. Now this is an interesting one because this is often, I mean, it says here marriage and union. It's often seen as the high priest equivalent as well, or religion. But as you can see, it's marriage, union. And we have our devil, force majeure. And that's the same either way. We have our magician. The judgment. We have death. Look at that. Isn't that an amazing image for death? Here's our hermit down as the traitor. And then we have misery, which is a prison, or house of God. It was also, it says prison there, look. House of God. And in a later deck, it became the temple struck by lightning of the house of God. We have fortune. You can see where we're starting to get, you know, links to the Wheel of Fortune. Dissension, which is basically the Chariot card, often referred to as the Voyage card as well. Okay, so I put the Fool in the wrong place, didn't I? Because we start with the courts, and then we have the Folly card placed last. But it's 0, so it goes anywhere really, doesn't it? Okay, so let's look at our minors then. So I'm just going to lay these down. I love the colours. Move that along a bit so you can see them. Notice the order that they're going up in. We have 22, 23, 24, 25, and that's why they was ordered like that in the deck, even though we have our femme and our homme, depart, I like that. So there are those keywords there as well. I mean, when the deck shuffled, it shuffled, but it's interesting that these are numbered all the way to 78 as well. So yeah, as I mentioned, the blue and the yellow heart represent opposing but also complementary principles, as I mentioned, like night and day, passive, active, spiritual, material, and the whole of Etteilla's system leans on polarities, and not just with upright reverse meanings, but also positive and negative influences, like we've seen all the way through the deck. But the colour split is to remind the reader of the duality. I thought that was a little hair or something there. It's very faint, circle. Okay, so we have our we're going down in number, aren't we? Which is fine. So we have batons first, then cups, swords, and coins. So yeah, I'm not sure what these words represent, but I think it's house. Not a great word, but I've got disunion, traverses, this means countryside, campaign, and yeah, oh look at this, Ettilla professor. So you've got these little notes on the card which are cool. This is our card 7, isn't it? Domestique. Or in that deck is achievement or completion, enterprise, look at that, we've got some scenic happening there as well, misfortune, and we have our king and queen, really beautiful. Arrive, so we had depart and arrive, didn't we? Yes. The blonde boy, garçon blonde. Okay, so our cups. The town, La Ville, victory, Billy Blonde, we have heritage. I will have to get my little Google Translate out for these, I think. It's beautiful. And notice some of them are blank in the reverse as well. You just get yellow. Got desire, amour. That's an interesting tip for the Two of Cups as well. You see where influences take place. Got like a caduceus here, the 2 cups, amour, love, and then the reverse is desire. Table, a banquet table. And then we have our swords. Look how they complement each other. I've noticed that all the way through. The colours that are used, really beautiful. So 10, this means tears. Critique. Hope. solitude. Enterprise. Extreme. I also had down in the notes as excess, but yeah. Again, just beautifully matched. Just look at this paint. The artwork is exquisite. Tell you, if you can get a Marco Benedetti deck, these aren't expensive. It's £60, which I think for a handcrafted deck is just brilliant. And then we have our coins. So we have the house, the maison, again, we've got these notes on them, look, from Ettilla. These with the shields and swords. I love the changing of the colour as well between the coins. Noble. Embarrass. Contentment. Perfect contentment. Love that. Perfect contentment. Wow. Gorgeous, gorgeous deck. I need to know how it shuffles. Oh, it shuffles like a dream. All his decks do. They feel really high quality, but they also, because it's like art paper, they have this lightness and air between them, and just, particularly for overhand shuffling like this, just beautiful. Let's lay some out and see how they look when laid out. They're all going to be, I did shuffle, but I didn't shuffle for long enough, obviously. Beautiful. You can't see all of these, of course. Stunning. Oh, love it. Absolutely love it. All right, well, thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow to do another deck from Spotlight. I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of an independently produced deck called the Lighted Window Tarot, which was sent from Cheryl. So that will be tomorrow's video. So hopefully you'll be able to join me for that. But yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Do you have an Itaya deck? If so, which one do you have? I know it gets confusing as to which one's which, but just remember the earlier decks is Itaya's deck, and the ones that came later, particularly like the Viumon deck, is by one of his students. I actually made a note here. The Viumon Itaya Tarot deck is a faithful facsimile to the Grand Itaya Tarot, the revised deck designed in the late 18th century. So, all right. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.